If iPhone 16 did any of these things, the entire conversation would be different. What's going on, YouTube? So recently I made a video about why the iPhone 16 marked the ugly end of iPhone. And while I stand by that statement, there were some legitimate questions like, Chris, what do you want the iPhone to do? What new functionality could it possibly have? My people, this is why innovation has to exist. And so in this fun video, I've listed 5 awesome new functions that, if implemented, would reinvent the iPhone as we know it and change the entire conversation. So let's get into it. Before we do, hit the like button, subscribe, and click the bell so you don't miss as we cover all things tech. I'm Chris Grant Jr. It's the Granny Geek Show. Also, before we dive into this list, remember I got Granny Geek merch. I'll leave the link down in the description below. You can check out the cool Granny Geek hoodies, etc. All kinds of fun stuff. It's a cool way to support the channel as well. Now, I want you to keep this in mind throughout this entire video as we go through this list. Apple is worth trillions of dollars, and they have access to hundreds of billions of dollars that they could use for R&D, research and development, to actually make new technologies and adapt them to iPhone. So keep that in mind. Apple has the money. It's a question of why aren't they using this money? And let's start off with number 1. It's lighter, it's simple, something we know Apple could do if they just tried hard enough, and that is reverse wireless charging. Your Apple Watch, your AirPods, these are no-brainer devices. They're so small, the batteries are so small. Make the iPhone a little bit thicker. Add that extra battery, deal with heat management and those kind of things, and allow the iPhone to charge these small devices. I'm telling you, this one change alone would have made me, it would have pushed me over the edge to upgrade from my 14 Pro Max to the 16 Pro Max, because it is not an improvement of something the iPhone can already do. It is actually a new functionality that would make my life more convenient, because I wouldn't have to take around cables and things like that. If I'm just sitting at a desk or sitting at a coffee shop or whatever, if my iPhone's there, I don't have to worry about a dead Apple Watch or AirPods. Okay, let's get to number 2, and you'll find that these things do get weirder as we continue going through the list. But speaking of charging, how about kinetic charging? That is charging the battery via the movements of your own body. Now, the technology already exists in devices like Ampy. And again, remember, Apple has a ton of cash. There are projects that they work on for 5 years before we even hear about them. We're not looking for it to recharge your entire iPhone, but remember, Apple has the money to develop this, make it smaller, make it more efficient, and allow us to, hey, you go out on a workout, or you go for a run, or you go hiking, that movement could add a little extra juice to your battery, even if it's just an hour longer of battery life, 2 hours longer of battery life. I don't know what the numbers would be, but Apple has the money, they have the resources to develop that. They could just buy the company Ampy and start implementing that technology into things like Apple Watch. There are already automatic watches which don't necessarily work the same way at all, but it's like the concept is there. Why not use the motion of Apple Watch, which a lot of people use for activity anyway, for fitness and things, use that to charge the watch. I just feel like it's a no-brainer. Now, let's get to number 3, and this one is definitely pretty weird, and that is laser projection technology, or some kind of projection technology. You can go into a Five Below store now, and for between $5 and $10, you can buy a little mini projector that will put an image onto a wall. Imagine having, yes, of course, the iPhone would be a little bit thicker, maybe in some places, but we're already used to the camera bump. Remember, iPhones didn't have camera bumps all that long ago. Now we gotten used to little extra chub on the back, okay? So imagine having some sort of laser projector where you could project things onto a wall to share a quick video, like, hey guys, check out this video, pop it right up on the wall, no matter where you're at. Even games, right? Imagine putting a checkerboard, or if the technology did improve over time and got better and better, you could play games like chess just by putting your phone somewhere and projecting that. Now, that is a little sci-fi, it sounds sci-fi, but don't forget, people, the iPhone itself was a sci-fi fantasy, but Apple made it a reality. But now that it is the reality, we have to have minds that think about what is the next sci-fi fantasy. so that these tech companies can then try to achieve that, so that they can try to bring that to the masses. I think in a lot of ways, people just haven't given Apple a target to shoot at anymore in terms of what we want. So how will they ever achieve a goal that we haven't set through our books and sci-fi fantasy movies and things like that? Okay, so laser projection I think would be absolutely awesome. And if they put this feature in an iPhone, it would be world shattering. It would be all over the news. Now, getting to number 4 on the list, which again is increasingly weird, how about UV screen sanitizing built right into the iPhone? The technology already exists. We put the iPhone in a little box. It's got UV light that sanitizes your entire phone. Folks, iPhones and phones in general are some of the dirtiest objects we have, as we're constantly touching them through the touchscreen. It's the main way we interface with the device. So Apple is great at developing new screen technology. They've actually created new technologies for screens. Things like mini LED that they've implemented. They use OLEDs and all different kinds of things. There's actually transparent and even bendable screens now. So you're not telling me with a few $100 billion in cash that they could not, you know, put some sort of transparent pixels that you could shine through the screen and kill little microscopic microbes and germs on the screen surface. Come on, put some lights on the 4 corners. I don't know. This is obviously science fiction, but again, the iPhone was science fiction not too long ago. And of course, it would take more battery, make the iPhone a little thicker. All right, and finally, number 5, which I'll admit is very weird. But if we're talking about saving the iPhone, this would make it a part of every single tech interaction we have. And that is to make it the core of every single piece of tech we use. Now, there's already proof of concept for this with things like Apple Carplay. You plug in your phone or you interface your phone with your car and you get iOS in your car. It takes over your media and infotainment system in your car, which is really awesome. Now, imagine that for a desktop, imagine that for a laptop, imagine that for a tablet, imagine that for your TV. I mean, you'd have to do a wired connection probably at first, but now that iPhone's on USB-C, that would be possible, I guess. Making the iPhone crazy powerful, right? And you're probably saying, well, the iPhone's not powerful enough to be in a desktop or a laptop or this. That's true. We'd have to start light. But as of now, the A18 chip in the iPhone 16, its single core score is about 11 to 12% faster than the single core in the M1 chip that was in all the Macs. Okay, so we know it can run a Mac. It's about 10%, roughly 10% less powerful in the multi-core, but still, it could run a Mac. It could absolutely run macOS, and iOS and macOS are already so close. Just marry the two into one operating system, and then it would truly unlock the iPhone. It could power the AR headset with all its horsepower. They've already got you connected with a cable to that big behind battery. Just connect it to the whole computer and let that power the entire experience. Just dock it right into your Mac, dock it into your TV. Listen, it would take on that adaptability and functionality like the iPad has, where it can just shape-shift and turn into any device that you really need, whether a laptop or a tablet. You can use it like an iPhone or open up DaVinci Resolve and use it like an actual computer, editing videos and things like that. So, to the question, what more can the iPhone do? What more would you even want the iPhone to do? Well, I just gave you 5 things that I think would make iPhones sell. Well, they already sell like hotcakes. But if it wasn't marketed as well and people started to say, there's not much of a difference, it would happen on a larger scale. And then the company would be forced to innovate, give them something new. But Steve Jobs said this, and I responded to a comment with this same notion. Steve Jobs said that what happens is as companies get bigger, the marketing department gets so big that they push out and overrule the innovators, the creators who actually made the original devices that went viral in the first place. And so then the entire company is just about quarterly sales and about stock prices and about marketing for the next device. And it's not focused on the user experience, the customer, and making a product that is better and better. And Tim Cook, while he's reigned over and presided over an amazing era for Apple, Tim Cook is not Steve Jobs. And so while Apple, of course, does still put out new devices, I think we can all agree that the spirit of innovation and user experience that Apple once had is not there anymore. So of course, let me know what you think of my top 5 list in the comments below. And please, I want to hear your suggestions. What new functionalities would you want to see in an iPhone that you think could really put all this "the iPhone is dead" conversation to bed? Let me know in the comments down below. Like, hit the subscribe button, and click the bell so you don't miss as we cover all things tech. I'm Chris Grant Jr. It's the Granite Geek Show.